while waiting for the rest to take their seat, I'd like to ask the questions here. How many of you here have met at least one new person? Have you met one new person? That's good. Yeah, exciting, right? So, you know, the key to successful networking is you look at the lanyard they're using. Because I know that there are other events as well who may share the place or things like that. So you look at the lanyard and then go forward and then introduce yourself. You know, networking is a very interesting journey for everyone. Okay, so during the lunchtime, if you can, try to sit with someone you do not know. All right, and then get to know new people so that your trip here is worthwhile, and also meeting new people is exciting, all right? So exchange your LinkedIn profile as well. Okay, now the next person, I'd like to introduce you, like I said, the head of engineering for Love Bonito. Okay, this session is all about scaling application independently from front to end. Okay, and Aman is an experienced head of engineering with over 10 years of proven expertise in the industry. Okay, currently leading the team in Love Bonito, a renowned fashion e-commerce company. You know the origin of Love Bonito? Originally, they were actually selling all the pre-loved clothes. And then how they move and transit into, you know, new fashion and became a trendy fashion. Now it's a household brand for all young people. My daughter is 23 and 24. So I have actually brought them for shopping in Love Bonito as well. So can you imagine from a physical business that they have and move into e-commerce? Right now, my daughter will order on their own. Okay, why? So this is a transition that we all need to adopt eventually. So, and of course, Aman oversees the various teams, including the development ops, OA, front end, and also back end, basically the entire suite, okay? And with a strong technical background, a passion for driving innovation, Aman has successfully guided their team in delivering high-quality software solutions while focusing on scalability and performance. Okay, so of course, he also includes the customer satisfaction. That's the most important part. He has deep understanding of modern development practices, including agile methodologies. He holds a certification as a Scrum Master, enabling them to foster an environment of collaboration, continuous improvement, and of course, efficient project delivery. So I believe that what he's going to share today is going to be a very key and detailed learnings for each and every one of you. So today's topic is headlines, is heading Headless Architecture, Leveraging Flexibility and Scalability. Let's put our hands together and welcome Aman Agarwal.
Hello. Thanks, Gloria, for introducing me. And I think you have beautifully explained Love Bonito already, and I cannot explain that much also, and for myself also. So I will try to skip like those sections which Gloria already mentioned. But this is the headless architecture. So today what we will be covering actually, right? So we will be covering about Love Bonito a little bit more, and then we will be understanding like what actually headless architecture is all about. And then I will be presenting a case study from my own experience in Love Bonito, like how we were in monolith and how we moved to headless. After that, we will be seeing like how scalability play a big role in headless architecture, and then future trends and innovations which I'm looking forward in next 2 to 3 years, 4 years in near term. And then we will conclude the presentation and you can ask any questions if you have. So this is all about Love Bonito actually. We have started from 2010 actually, and we are basically focusing on Asian women throughout the world because the fits, and this is our main KPI actually, you can say, because the fits is really suits for Asian women, and as Gloria also mentioned, like she also shopped, and her daughter is also shopped. So we have a very wide range of age which people are shopping. So it's not only young age. So it's a different seasons of women's life, right? We are also committed to that. So that's why we have a different range actually of the products, from office wears to bridesmaid actually, and then you have a maternity also. So it's a different seasons of their life actually we are committed with. This is a little bit about myself. So I'm just studying an engineering team in Bonito. So I'm overlooking a technology there, which is including in-house development and integration with e-commerce and omni-channel features, integrating with third-party logistics, POS, and other things, because we are an omni-channel integrated brand. So what is the importance of technological architecture in modern business, right? Like as business is adapting actually. So before moving into that, like I want to take a moment to appreciate that role technology is playing, actually technological architecture is playing throughout the world in the businesses, because an architecture, technology architecture is something similar like a blueprint of a building actually, right? The well-designed blueprint is making sure the stability and efficiency of a building actually. Similarly, technological architecture is doing the same thing for your website. So you can think about might be Netflix, Prime Videos, or might be any e-commerce website or banking website, right? With all those having a great experience for users, behind those actually it's a well-designed architecture, which is making them sustainable, making them scalable. So technological architecture is the key actually for any businesses nowadays to be designed in a very well-mannered and very thoughtfully, so that they can adopt the changes. Because nowadays we see business are changing and evolving, right? And there are a lot of competition in the market, so you need to evolve very fast. So if you build something and which is not scalable and not able to adapt the changes, then you will be behind other competitors. So our architecture should be in a way that your application should be able to scale up or adapt actually the changes, tomorrow's innovation. Okay. So let's share like understanding headless architecture more, right? Before that, just imagine about a robot toy you have when you were a kid, right? Something like Wall-E. Everyone knows, like in 2008, actually there was a movie Wall-E, and it was a very famous toy, right? It's very well designed actually. So you can say like its hands, head, and everything is so coupled actually, but it is just working in a way like you like it actually. So it's a perfectly designed toy, right? But here, what is the challenge? So now think about a robot, the modern robot, right? Where you have a different parts of the body which is enabled, like embedded, right? It's not tightly coupled. So if you want to remove his head, you can put some dinosaur, some Barbie doll or something, and it will work like same way, like robotic, right? So it gives us a flexibility if you design your application in a way that you can remove their head, which is a representation of your website, and it can work in the similar way without affecting the other part of the website. So similarly here, if you see like there are different things you can do. And kids really love it, so that you don't need to buy like 12 toys for them. It's just one toy and they can just change it and they can use it in a different way. It's similarly applying to the headless in the website also. So headless having two parts, you can say backend, APIs, and frontend. So the head portion generally represent how your website will look like. Mostly it's representing the user experience. So is it a really time to move from traditional monolith to headless? Let's deep dive, but we all know that this trend is needed actually for e-commerce. But I can give you more data here so that you can decide if you are really ready or not. But normally, we cannot say like it's just a thing like you need to move to headless. Right? It's all depend on different various factors. You need to analyze your architecture. You need to analyze, is it really making sense to move to the headless or not? So few things we will be checking, like currently what are the challenges we are having actually with a traditional monolith application, right? So this is just a simple design I try to represent, which is mostly, you can see front end and back end is very tightly coupled. So this is a monolith app. And the computer which you are seeing is a user who are accessing your website, and this is how it represents as a monolithic architecture. So first thing is complexity and scalability, right? When we talk about monolith is all about a big box actually, and everything is there. So definitely if you have a box and you're putting the things inside it, at some point it will be filled actually, right? And it will start making an issue. So similarly, it's a complexity and scalability issue with monolith. When you start building up features on it, it will become more complex as the time grows. Right? Slow development cycle. So suppose, just think about a monolith app, because you have one code base, and you have a team actually, which is working on the same code base, which is becoming a bottleneck actually slowly. So today you have 3 developers, it's okay. But when you have 10 developers, it will start causing an issue, because everyone is pushing in the same code base, you have different branches there, and you need to see like, okay, when someone will merge, how my code will affect, right? So this is making it slow actually. After that, development changes. So development challenges actually, sorry. So it is also deployment challenges comes with the development. So if you're developing very fast, right, but then there is a deployment. Because if you deploy something, you need to test it. Even though you are changing the color of a website, might be you say like, okay, I have different menus in my website. Then there is a sales menu, and sales menu, I want to make it more visible to the user. You want to change the color to the sales menu to red. Right? Then in monolith, if you are going to deploy it, you will be very scared, I can say a little bit, like, okay, if I will deploy, I need to test everything. It can affect everything because all the code is tightly coupled, and it can impact anything else, actually. Scalability and fault isolation. So suppose everything is front-end and back-end is tightly together. If anything happens on front-end, you cannot isolate the fault tolerance on back-end itself. So if anything happens on the website, your whole website will be down. Any specific features, or might be you can say the load on the front end can down your back end also. Innovation and experimentation, right? This is the key part actually. As today's businesses keep growing, you need to continuously innovate the things, like how you are different from other vendors. But in monolith, actually, you can see that when developers don't have confidence enough for their development because of the slowness, right? They have developed something one month before, and it is still not on live or not on production, right? They will become more demotivated actually, that, okay, my code is still not live. And same like deployment challenges, they are not able to deploy, right? So here, when developers were not satisfied with the pace they are developing or they are deploying to the production to the customers, experimentation and innovations actually taking a backseat. So they are too much afraid to do the experimentations because they will feel that, okay, if I will do this, my whole website can break. So they will just sitting on the same position, they will say, okay, no, I don't need to change. I will be sitting there. Team collaboration and specialization. So here it's a key part. If you have a monolith app, everyone needs to know everything, which is a key actually, right? Like we are talking more about like a full stack developers, a lot of full stack developers, but still you need some specialization on a back end or front end or DevOps, right? But here, everything is so coupled that everyone needs to know everything, like how the thing's working. If somebody knows front end only and they don't know the back end, they can crash your website, or they can just develop something which will hurt your website later, right? So why headless architecture, right? So these are the challenges, like how headless architecture is changing. So something similar you can see here. The headless architecture, you have a backend, then you have an API, and then you have a different systems like you can go live with. You can have a website app, you can have a mobile apps, you can even show the same content on your POS systems, you can show the content on the webs, on the social media, on the different platforms, right? So it's just about plugging on the different front-end layers. So it's give you more flexibility and customization, right? Because your code base will be divided into 2 different parts, front-end and back-end, right? So it is more flexible actually to change the things. And you can do more customizations also without having any issue. So if you want to change your login or registration form with some design, something, then you can do easily actually there. You will not feel afraid like, okay, my backend will break or something. Okay. It's a multi-channel consistency, right? So you can show the same thing on your website, same thing on mobile app, because you are taking here as an API first approach. So the data will be same. It's about showing the data actually on the different platform. Faster development integration, because again, like this code base is divided. So front-end team can just take care of their own development, back-end will they come like work on their own iterations, and they don't take care, right? Like because suppose you need to change color, you need to change the design of the website, you don't need to consult with the back-end. Because you have the data, you can just iterate and you don't have any dependency there. So it becomes more faster development and iteration. Specialization and collaboration, you can hire a specialized front-end, specialized back-end developers, and they can just make more innovations and create your website in a more better manner than a specific, like the person who knows everything. Scalability and performance is easy because if your backend, which is a heavy and taking more resources, then you can just scale up your backend actually. You don't need to do anything on front end. If your front end need more resources, you can just do there actually, and it will be more, like just an example, right? In Magento or in Adobe Commerce, right? Whenever you save a menu, you change in menu, they will flush the cache because it's showing everything there. So here on front end, you don't need to do this because they can just specifically component specific cache you can remove. Reuse of components. So if you build something there, you can use it anywhere actually in the same projects if you are using the same language. Reduce risk in upgrade, right? So it's a faster upgrade. So if you have to upgrade your backend, you don't need to depend on front end. Like how my front end will react actually. There will be, might be 10% of things you need to just verify that if your API changes, how it is impacting to front end. Future proofing, you are just taking care of like futures, like how I need to adapt. It will help you to adapt actually easily. Ease of integration also is there because you have decoupled. So if you need to integrate with any third party, you can easily integrate actually. Social media feeds is something similar, like if you are using a headless CMS, you can create the content there. That content will show on your website, will show on the social media also, and will show on the application also. So these are the few benefits of having an architecture, headless architecture. Let's see in Love Bonito, like what we did actually. So we were also in monolith. Earlier in Love Bonito, we were using Magento as a monolith app, and we were facing some challenges. And after that, we have decided let's move to headless, but keep Magento in the background because Magento is still a powerful tool, right? It gives you most of the things out of the box actually. So what were the challenges we had with monolith, right? So first is scalability and performance. So there were the times actually, I joined Love Bonito 5 years back, and when I joined, our website is continuously breaking actually on the major sale events because we were on monolith, and if something on front end also breaking the whole website. So some examples was like we were using third-party extensions, like layered navigations or gift with purchase or product labels. But all these is necessary, right? Like we cannot say like, okay, out of the box, you can use any tool. This customization is necessary. And you cannot tell to the business like, okay, don't do these changes. You need to adapt your business. You need to be more competitive. You need to give a good user experience. So you don't have any choice. You need to use those. But when you start using it, it will break actually your website also. Risky upgrades, right? It's developers were very, very stressed whenever upgrade comes, right? And business also impacted. So when we were in monolith Magento, we took around like 3 to 4 weeks to upgrade actually at least. Why? Because you need to test everything. Front end, you need to test back end. And because front ends are mostly customized for everyone based on their theme. So similarly for payment methods, you change your user experience for customers, and when it start breaking, they are feeling more stressed, like, okay, we need to hold our development, we need to hold our innovation, and we need to focus on upgrading Magento first, or our e-commerce platform. Whatever you have is a similar story, because you need to be security proof, right? Like, so you need to upgrade to the latest version. Slower development iterations, as I mentioned, like we also started with 3 developers first, and there was no issues when we were 3 developers. We just work together, we deploy, we create a new features, test it, and deploy. But issues happen when our business grows, our business team grows, and they have a request actually. So if we had 5 teams, they are requesting 10 features in a month, so it's become like 50 features in a month, right? And you need more developers to support those. When you started having more developers, you are getting a bottleneck actually, because everyone is developing, everyone need to test, everyone need to wait for another people to merge their code, need to test it. So this is becoming a bottleneck for us. It's becoming a slower deployment, slower innovations, and the things. Complex integration, right? With the third-party vendors, you always need to do integrations, like might be taxes with US. It's very complex, and you need some partners there to integrate. You need a 3PL, third-party logistics, or you need a courier companies to give you an updated times and other things. So also payment gateways is here, shipping methods are, you need to integrate. So it is becoming a more bottleneck because everyone is working so hard to make the system stable. So how we overcome those challenges, right? Like we had decided to move from monolith to headless. And I cannot show you my exact architecture because of confidentiality and other things, security purpose, but this is how it looked like, right? So we have backend, which is an e-commerce platform. It can be anything. For us, it is Adobe Commerce. This is an API layer we have, which is in Node.js. And then front end we have, which is currently in Vue.js. Okay? So here we currently have a web, currently we have an e-commerce, and for mobile, we are still working on mobile apps. So, but you see, like this is the architectures we have designed actually. So whenever we have something on front end, we can scale up on front end. Whenever we have something on e-commerce platforms to upgrade our things, we can easily upgrade actually. And we have created our own in-house loyalty platform. We also using CMS platform for Headless, so we are using a Storyblock for that. Okay, so what we achieved actually with Headless Commerce, right? Our scalability and performance. So suppose if our website is breaking with 1,000 users or 2,000 users, right? We are able to adopt like 10x users more this time. And I was really feeling bad earlier when people were commenting that, okay, Love Bonito's website is something similar, it's breaking, and they should invest in technology, they should invest in their architecture. And after we have done those change, we are able to adapt a seamless experience. So last, our mid-year sales, we are able to adapt a lot more traffic than previously we were able to adapt. And there was a seamless experience. So touchwood, we have not experienced any issues actually. Frequent upgrades, right? So this one is a really key to upgrade your security also because you need to keep using a latest software version. And we have reduced time by 70%. So previously it took a month for us to upgrade. Now it's taking less than a week actually sometimes. It depends on the type of an upgrade, but mostly earliest we have done in a week also. Faster development in iterations. So similarly, previously we were have to wait for 2 weeks, 3 weeks to deploy the things because everyone need to test together. Now we are doing hourly, hourly deployments. So they don't need to depend on any team. Whenever the things is done for them, they just deploy on production, and they don't need to depend on anyone. They just test, they just deploy, and sometimes in a day we are doing 3 times or 4 times deployment also. Smoother integrations because we don't need to vendor lock-in, because if you do develop something specifically for e-commerce, it will be logged actually for that platform. But we are not going for third party with that platform. We are creating our own API layer. So we integrate third party through API layers, and we don't need to depend on this third party integration vendors. Whenever they are not working, we just switch to different vendors also. So everything looks good, like, okay, headless architecture seems good. We can move it actually, right? But there are some challenges actually also with those headless architecture, and how and when you need to take a decisions to move to headless architecture from your traditional software, right? Some challenges we have is cost. Your cost will increase because you have a different teams. You have a different systems to host actually. So it's not like drastically it will be double or something, but you need to be ready actually to be spending more than what you were spending on monolith. Then technical capabilities, right? Because you need to hire a subject matter experts, or you need to hire a technology expert for front end, for back end, for DevOps, or different other platforms, right? Which is sometimes challenging actually to hire good people there who are expertise on certain technologies. Then we have a security challenges also, right? Because you have a layer of API, you have a front end, you have back end. So you need to be sure like how they will be communicating with each other. There will be an authorization layer should be there who allow us certain things so that you don't expose your customer information to other customers. Debugging and troubleshooting, because in monolithic app, actually this is very easy to debug because you know there is a system. If you hit, it will be giving you logs, giving you matrices and everything in one place. But with headless, if you are hitting on front end from a different technology, it is going to your API layer, it is going to a backend layer, right? So how you will be debugging? So there are solutions for that already, but this is a challenging actually to achieve an observability between the systems. Emerging trends, right? Like in headless architecture, which I think is moving forward, I'm looking for is, first is a micro frontend. So when we talk about a headless architecture, right? It's still kind of a 2 monoliths, or 3 monoliths you can say. Backend is a monolith, API is a monolith, and then frontend is a monolith itself. So still when you have a bigger front-end team, it will again a bottleneck slowly. That, okay, all the peoples in the team is working on the same repo, and they have to create for homepage, product listing, product detail, checkout, and everyone is working on same thing. So moving forward, it can be micro frontends. It's already some of the companies have adopted it. So this micro frontend is more about like splitting your front-end repo into the smaller pieces itself. So you design your components, you put it on homepage. Similarly, like just an example of you may also like, right? It's a recommended components, like which might be powered with Adobe Sensei or anyone, right? Then you can just develop that component can be used anywhere. And you develop that component, the language you like, might be in React, and your website in Vue, but you can still embed that React component there. AI and personalization, which is a key actually nowadays. So personalization, again, is from Adobe Sensei or from Algolia or from any other search things. You can get the data actually from there. Voice commerce is also evolving soon. Like you can do a purchase from your speakers directly, like might be from Alexa, from Google Home and different things. VR is also the key nowadays because we are all talking about the online shopping, but how you feel those actually in real life, right? Some brands already have done those like IKEA and all. You can just see your chairs there in your room and how it will look like. So these are some of the trends which I'm looking for. Just ending with this Conway's law. So it represents that your organization that design a system will inevitably produce a design whose architecture or whose structure of the company is organization's structure, right? Something in a simple term, whatever the architecture you build, it represents your company's structure, team structure. So if you have a very big team, in a single team, you have a lot of members, then it's a high chances that you will be building a monolith app because everyone working is together actually, and you will unknowingly designing a monolith architecture. If you have different teams who are working independently in your organization, there are high chances that you will be building a service architectures, like where it's not about like microservices, it can be headless, it can be divided into more domain-specific architecture. Thank you for listening, and I think thanks for Meet Magento as Singapore also for giving me an opportunity. So yeah, if you have any questions, you can ask me. Thank you. Thank you.